In our discussion tonight, we will examine Ayat al-Tathir, the verse of purification. The verse of purification is clear evidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has thoroughly purified the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen them as infallible leaders for humanity. Ayat al-Tathir is found in Surah al-Ahzab, and it is verse 33 of Surah al-Ahzab. Now, when you examine the context of the verse, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking and addressing who? The wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya nisa an-nabi. We find that before and after. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the wives of the Prophet. Now, when addressing the wives of the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the female plural noun in Arabic, which is used to refer to a group of females only. Whenever you're referring to a group of 3 or more females, you would use this pronoun. And basically, it is that noon and niswa, the noon, the feminine noon, which is used for a group of females. That's why you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using this pronoun in the previous verses. Now, even in the verse of Ayat al-Tathir, in the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this pronoun. وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. You find that pronoun is being used. However, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a statement about the Ahlul Bayt, the people of the house, literally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala switches the pronoun. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهِ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ. Allah wishes to remove any spiritual uncleanliness. We'll talk about what rijs means. From you. But which pronoun does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use? The masculine pronoun. Ankum. Allah does not continue with the context of previous verses and say ankunna. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says ankum. That in itself tells us a different group is being addressed. In the previous verses or the previous pronouns, those who were being addressed were only the women. Now when Allah switches the pronoun, that means a different group is being addressed. Who that group is requires our examination. But as a Muslim, when you're reading the Quran, you now know there is a difference in the pronoun. So now Allah is addressing a different group. So it becomes our obligation to find out which group that is. You can't assume it's the same group because it's a different pronoun. Yes, you could say maybe the women could also be included in it, like the Sunnis, many of them say. But the change in pronoun determines that the group has changed. So you can't assume it's the same group. You need to do research and figure out who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here addressing. So we must investigate. Now first, let's examine Ayat al-Tathir in terms of its revelation. Then we'll examine some rational evidence that tells us who these Ahlul Bayt could be. We have authentic hadiths in Sunni and Shia sources that state the Prophet ﷺ was in the house of Salama when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals Ayat al-Tathir. When Ayat al-Tathir was revealed, only 5 people were present in that room. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Jibreel alayhi salam to reveal Ayat al-Tathir, only 5 were in that room. For example, Sahih Muslim narrates a hadith from Safiya bint Shayba. She's the one who narrates this hadith. She says once the Prophet ﷺ came, then he was covered with a cloak. She gives you an exact description of how the cloak looked like. Then Hassan came, his grandson. He told him to join. He joined him. Then Hussein came. He went under the cloak. Then Fatima alayhi salam went under the cloak. Then Ali came and he went under the cloak. Who's narrating this? Muslim. This is in Sahih Muslim. So now you had these five under the cloak. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals which verse? إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills to remove any spiritual uncleanliness, any vice from you, the Ahl al-Bayt, and to purify you, a thorough purification. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals this verse. So this is in Sahih Muslim. Yes. Yes, Hadith al-Kisa basically gives you the details of how this all happened, which is narrated from Lady Fatima alayhi salam. She says, you know, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa was there and I came and he was experiencing some weakness, and you've heard of Hadith al-Kisa. So Hadith al-Kisa, Kisa means the cloak. And basically, it's the same incident where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals Ayat al-Tathir. This is in Sahih Muslim. In Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he narrates this hadith from Salama. She says, Salama, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in my house. فَأَتَتْ Fatima. Then Fatima alayhi salam came. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells Fatima, call your two sons, Hassan and Hussein, and your husband, Ali ibn Abi Talib, I want them here. This is according to who? Ahmad ibn Hanbal in his Musnad. So they all came. Before that, they had some food. They broke some bread together. And then after that, the Prophet had a cloak from Khaybar. Kisa'un Khaybariyun, according to Ahmad ibn Hanbal. The Prophet ﷺ gathered those four with him. He's the fifth. And under the cloak, the Prophet makes a prayer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after that reveals إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. And then she finishes the hadith and she captures the dua that the Prophet made. Allahumma inna ha'ula ahlu bayti wa khassati fa'adhib anhum al-rijsa wa tahhirhum tathira. Allahumma ha'ula ahlu bayti wa khassati fa'adhib anhum al-rijsa wa tahhirhum tathira. The Prophet said this twice. Oh Allah, these are my Ahl al-Bayt, these are my family. They are the people who are very special to me. So Allah, give them a thorough purification. So now we have quoted two Sunni hadiths. The third one is narrated by Tirmidhi from Anas ibn Malik, one of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What's that? No, not Imam Malik. Imam Malik came way after the Prophet. This is Anas ibn Malik, who was a companion of the Prophet. Min sahabat al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He lived at the time of the Prophet. He says, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam كان يمر بباب فاطمة عليه السلام ستة أشهر. He says for 6 months the Prophet would pass where? By the house of Lady Fatima عليه السلام. إذا خرج إلى صلاة الفجر. When the Prophet would go to the Fajr prayer, what would he say? يقول الصلاة يا أهل البيت. It's time for salah, O people of the house. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. The Prophet would quote this verse in applying it to the house of Lady Fatima alayhi salam. For 6 months he would do that every single day. Every single day. On his way to which prayer? To Salatul Subuh, the Fajr prayer. Now, interestingly, Tirmidhi says, هذا حديث حسن غريب من هذا الوجه. This is a hadith which is Hasan. When I look at the chain, it has a good chain. Good narrators have relied it. But gharib, it's unusual. Why is it unusual? Same that we mentioned with Fakhr al-Razi. Remember? When we talked about the hadith of Ghadir, Fakhr al-Razi said, I have gathered 400 turuq, paths to Hadith al-Ghadir. 400. In Sunni fiqh and law and science of Hadith, they believe if you have 10 paths for a Hadith, it becomes mutawatir, successive, beyond doubt. Fakhr al-Razi says how many? 400. But then what does he say? وَلَكِنْ فِي النَّفْسِ مِنْهُ شَيْءٍ. But he says, I just can't accept it. My heart doesn't accept it. SubhanAllah. في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا. Same with Tirmidhi. He says, the hadith, when you look at it, and those who've narrated it, it's a good hadith, but it's unusual. Because he doesn't like the content of it. It's very clear.